Welcome to Voyage Daily Tech, the most important news personalized for you every day, supported by Voyage.com.
After listening to today's news, you'll know first, big tech's greenwashing campaign is exposed, with generative AI's massive energy costs concealed from regulators and investors. We'll explore how this alleged deception impacts ESG investing and what it means for future regulatory disclosures in the US. Second, India's Adani Group launches a $100 billion plan to build AI-ready data centers, challenging US and European tech dominance. We'll analyse why this massive investment is a turning point and how it could affect global AI infrastructure competition and data sovereignty. Third, Infosys reveals 5.5% of its revenues from AI and partners with Anthropic to fight a $40 billion market panic. In this episode, we'll break down this strategic pivot to offense and what it signals for the future of the IT outsourcing business model. Fourth, China's AI agent arms race intensifies as Alibaba's new model threatens to disrupt global SaaS business models. We'll explore how this new wave of low-cost AI agents from China could transform the global software-as-a-service industry. Fifth, the UAE and Saudi Arabia launch competing data cable projects, racing to create a new digital corridor to Europe. This discussion will reveal how this infrastructure race connects to the larger trend of data sovereignty and what it means for global AI competition. The most unexpected story in tech today has to be a new report accusing the world's biggest companies of a massive greenwashing campaign, essentially misleading the public about AI's true climate impact. The bombshell allegation is that they are conflating two entirely different types of AI. When they talk about AI helping the planet, they're referring to old school predictive models. But the AI that's actually booming, the energy-hungry generative AI, like Google's Gemini and Microsoft's Copilot, is a different beast entirely. But that's not the whole picture. By blending these two types of AI in their sustainability marketing, tech companies can boost their reputation and attract investors looking for green technologies. It makes them look like leaders in innovation, but this often hides the enormous energy cost of generative AI. Even regulators are struggling to keep up. For example, the US Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC, now has rules for climate disclosure, but they don't force companies to report on their full supply chain emissions. A former SEC commissioner even said this loophole paves the way for greenwashing. After analysing 154 corporate and industry statements, researchers found not a single example where these popular new tools led to a material, verifiable reduction in emissions. The rabbit hole goes deeper. Remember the widespread claim that AI could cut global emissions by 5 to 10%? The report traces that number, repeated by Google, back to a consulting firm it hired. That firm cited its own blog post, which attributed the figure simply to its experience with clients. And it turns out this kind of circular, self-referential evidence is surprisingly common in corporate sustainability reports. It's a way to create an echo chamber where a claim sounds official because it's been repeated, even if it was never based on peer-reviewed science to begin with. The report's author, energy analyst Ketan Joshi, calls the industry's tactics diversionary and likens them to fossil fuel companies that advertise tiny solar investments to distract from their core business. He says, big tech took that approach and upgraded and expanded it. Now, get this. The comparison is powerful because research shows that in 2023, the entire fossil fuel industry invested just 1.2% of its low carbon spending on technologies like carbon capture. It's a tiny fraction. The tech industry, on the other hand, is spending billions on renewable energy, but mainly because it has no choice. It needs that power to run its energy guzzling data centers. So in both cases, the green action is a footnote compared to the core high impact business. The analysis found that for green claims made by Google and Microsoft, most lacked any evidence at all. This is all happening as the AI boom drives a massive surge in energy demand. Data centers are projected to more than double their share of US electricity consumption by 2035, largely fueled by this technology. That surge isn't just a number on a chart, it has real-world consequences. To meet this demand, the US is now leading the world in building new natural gas power plants. In places like Virginia, the power needed for data centers is expected to quadruple by 2026. This puts immense strain on the electrical grid, increasing the risk of power shortages and pushing the costs onto consumers. The report concludes that this isn't just a simple mistake, but a deliberate strategy. Joshi states, the false coupling of a big problem with a small solution serves as a distraction from the very preventable harms being done through unrestricted data center expansion. To put it in perspective, peer-reviewed studies show that training just one large AI model, like an early version of GPT-3, can consume as much electricity as a small town uses in a year. That's the reality. This greenwashing is designed to hide. We were just talking about the massive energy footprint of AI. Well, in India, one company is tackling that problem head-on with a plan of staggering scale, $100 billion. A while back, we said India was shifting the global AI conversation from abstract safety to on-the-ground impact at the India AI Impact Summit. This is the price tag on that pivot. That's the investment Adani Enterprises is pouring into building a new generation of AI-ready data centers by 2035. So what does AI-ready actually mean in this context? It's not just about storage. These are facilities designed for extreme power density. A traditional server rack might use a few kilowatts of power, but a rack full of AI chips, the GPUs can consume 40 to 60 kilowatts. That's a massive difference, and it requires a complete rethinking of cooling and power delivery. And there's a critical detail. They will all be powered by renewable energy. Now, this is a monumental challenge because AI workloads demand uninterrupted 24/7 power, while sources like solar and wind are intermittent. To make this work, it will require an enormous investment in energy storage, likely massive battery installations to ensure the grid can provide that constant high-density power without a single flicker. As we've discussed before, that's where grid-scale storage stops being a theory and becomes procurement and steel. If that was just the appetizer, the main course is just being served. The investment is projected to ignite a $250 billion AI infrastructure ecosystem across India, pulling in everything from server manufacturing to sovereign cloud platforms. We previously analysed the $68 billion that Google, Microsoft, and Amazon have already committed to India by 2030 hyperscale builds, an AI hub, and nationwide SME digitisation. Adani's plan is the domestic anchor that turns those multinational promises into a home field ecosystem. And that brings us to a crucial term here, sovereign cloud. This isn't just about building data centers, it's about creating a digital infrastructure that is under Indian control, reducing reliance on foreign giants like Amazon's AWS or Microsoft's Azure. It's a strategy we're seeing globally. For example, the European Union has its own project called Gaia X, which aims to create a secure, federated data infrastructure. We recently flagged the tension here. India has become OpenAI's largest user market, and that usage fuels foreign models while raising hard questions about who owns the data. Sovereign cloud is the counterweight. This is a direct play to move from the sidelines to the global stage. For years, India has been on the periphery of the AI boom, but this strategy targets the very heart of AI infrastructure. Continuing our last discussion, India's official stance has been application-led innovation over chasing frontier models. This move doubles down by building the rails for deployment at national scale. To be clear, the starting line for India shows just how ambitious this goal is. Right now, the United States leads the world with over 53 gigawatts of data center capacity. India's current operational capacity is around 1.4 gigawatts. So this plan isn't just an upgrade, it's an attempt at a quantum leap. A few days ago, we mentioned Microsoft's new hyperscale build and Google's first AI hub. Adani is trying to leapfrog that scattered growth with a single integrated platform. Top firms like Reliance and TCS are also in the race, but this move by Adani is a massive escalation. We also caution that the industry-wide build-out could overshoot. Even as cloud usage and AI adoption keep validating the demand curve, this escalation puts that tension front and center. The company's chairman, Gautam Adani, made the mission crystal clear, stating, "For decades we imported technology, now we are building the backbone." He then added a line that puts the world on notice: India will not follow the AI century, India will shape it. It's a powerful statement, but shaping the century requires building the tools. A huge part of this plan involves boosting domestic server manufacturing. Interestingly enough, there's a massive technology gap to overcome. For instance, India's first major semiconductor fab is targeting 28 nanometer chips, while industry leader Taiwan is already mass producing cutting-edge 2 nanometer chips. Bridging that gap will take years of sustained investment and technological development, which, as we've discussed, tracks with India's choice to deploy at scale rather than chase frontier model parity. This isn't just talk. Adani is expanding its existing partnerships with global giants like Google and Walmart-backed Flipkart to build out these facilities, with plans to scale to 5 gigawatts of data center capacity. That layers onto the previously announced $68 billion from US tech firms, tightening the loop between domestic capacity and foreign cloud demand. 5 gigawatts is an immense amount of power. To put that in perspective, a single large-scale data center campus can consume as much electricity as a mid-sized city. Adani's plan would more than triple India's entire existing data center capacity, creating one of the largest integrated data center platforms on Earth. To fuel this colossal ambition, the conglomerate is also investing an additional $55 billion into its renewable energy portfolio. This isn't just an investment in technology. It's a coordinated, energy-backed national push to fundamentally alter the global balance of power in artificial intelligence. And there's a massive potential customer base waiting. India's own domestic AI market is projected to explode from around $13 billion in 2025 to over $130 billion by 2032. At the same time, we've noted the social cost risks. An investment bank has already warned that India's call center industry could see a 50% revenue hit by the end of the decade, with millions of jobs at risk. So expect workforce transition to become part of the real scoreboard as this build-out races ahead. While India is building the future of AI hardware, its massive IT services industry is fighting for its life in the present. A $40 billion wipeout, that's the staggering amount of value erased from India's IT sector so far this month. A while back, we flagged how investors were aggressively repricing anything exposed to AI because the core business model itself was in question. That repricing just showed up on the scoreboard. This wasn't just some vague market jitters. The panic was triggered by very specific events, like the launch of an AI tool called Claude Cowork from the company Anthropic. This tool can automate the exact kind of complex office tasks that have been the bread and butter of IT outsourcing for decades, sending a shockwave of fear through the market. And as we noted a few days ago, these co-work agents are powerful co-pilots that still need guidance, but plugging them directly into real workflows is exactly what jolts valuations. The cause? A wave of panic that artificial intelligence is coming to dismantle the traditional outsourcing business. This intense pressure from investors is forcing a new level of transparency. For years, these companies have talked about innovation, but now they are being forced to show, not just tell. We previously analysed how this collides with per hour and per seat pricing. And even Anthropic's own CEO warned AI is turning into a general labour substitute, which is precisely what markets are reacting to. But while investors were selling off, one of the industry's titans just made a bombshell announcement. Infosys, India's second largest software exporter, has been under intense scrutiny. So for the first time in its history, the company just broke out its AI business to show the world its hand. Disclosing AI revenue separately is, a very deliberate strategy. It's a direct response to investor demand for proof that these giants can actually adapt. And this is so critical because recent industry reports show that AI-related deals now make up nearly 3/4 of all new contracts being signed. The entire business is shifting, and this disclosure is a signal to Wall Street that they are shifting with it. It turns out that 5.5% of their revenue last quarter came directly from artificial intelligence services. Out of a total of over $5 billion, that's a significant stake in the future. And this isn't just a line item on a report. CEO Salil Parekh confirms the company is actively working on 4,600 separate AI projects and has already deployed more than 500 autonomous agents for clients. Believe it or not, the term autonomous agents is where the business model truly gets turned on its head. For decades, these companies made money by billing for human developers by the hour, but an AI agent completely changes that equation. Research shows an AI customer service agent can cost as little as 8 cents per minute, while a human agent can cost over $1 per minute. As we've discussed before, agents can slash per task cost by up to 95%. That's not a story about mascots. It's a story about margins. By deploying these agents, Infosys can deliver results faster and cheaper, moving away from selling man hours and towards selling pure efficiency. He calls the growth robust and extremely dynamic, a direct counter-narrative to the market's fear. But here's the real plot twist. Infosys just announced a major collaboration with Anthropic, one of the key AI firms whose technology is accelerating this very disruption. Now, you might be thinking, why Anthropic? Why not a bigger name like OpenAI or Google? Well, this is a brilliant strategic move because Anthropic's AI named Claude has some unique superpowers for big business. First, it can process a massive amount of information at once. We're talking up to 150,000 words, which is like reading an entire book in a single go. This allows it to handle incredibly complex multi-step tasks without losing track. Second, it's built with something called constitutional AI, a safety-first approach that makes it more reliable for highly regulated industries like banking and healthcare. Continuing our last discussion about AI agents becoming the platform and other software turning into specialized skills, this dedicated AI agent center looks like a bet on that exact architecture. They're getting in bed together to build a dedicated AI agent center, signaling a massive strategic pivot from defense to offense. This move puts them head-to-head with their larger rival, Tata Consultancy Services, which reports a nearly identical figure of 5.8% of revenue from AI. The battle lines are drawn. The $283 billion Indian IT industry is no longer just facing a threat. It's in a high-stakes internal race to reinvent itself before it's too late. And as we said a while back, the question isn't whether AI will cannibalize ours, it's who chooses to cannibalize them first. Speaking of AI agents becoming a core strategy, the arms race for these systems is escalating globally, with China making some serious moves. Analysts are warning it could upend the entire internet as we know it. We previously analysed how the DeepSeek shockwave kicked off a low-cost open access wave in China. The latest development is that this cost-first playbook is converging on agentic systems that can actually act for you. Alibaba just dropped its new Qwen 3.5 AI model, and it's a direct shot into this new arena. This isn't just about answering questions anymore. We're talking about AI agent systems that can independently take actions and complete multi-step tasks for you with minimal supervision. And as a key upgrade here, Qwen 3.5 is natively multimodal, able to understand text, images, and even video at the same time. Crucial if you expect an agent to watch a product demo, read your docs, and then execute tasks without hand-holding. Actually, Alibaba is playing a very different game. While companies like OpenAI and Anthropic build proprietary closed-off systems, Alibaba has made Qwen 3.5 open weight with a hosted version as well. As we discussed a while back, that pivot toward openness became the new playbook in China after DeepSeek rewrote the cost curve, inviting a global developer swarm instead of walling off the garden. It's a strategic gamble on openness versus control. This release intensifies an already fierce competition in China, coming just as rivals like ByteDance and Jipu AI launched their own upgraded models in the same week. A few days ago, we mentioned ByteDance's push into video models and the scale of its Debao chatbot over 155 million weekly users, which matters because agents will piggyback on those massive consumer platforms for instant distribution. The pace is frantic. Alibaba launched this new model on the eve of the Chinese New Year, only 1 week after releasing a completely different AI model designed for robots. Continuing our last discussion about timing, the Spring Festival has effectively become a strategic launch window for China's tech giants, capturing holiday attention and compressing product cycles into a predictable annual burst. Here's where it gets interesting. A research director at Counterpoint Research went on the record telling CNBC that these AI agents could upend traditional internet business models. His warning was stark. The consequences for those who are not prepared will be severe. So the thing is, upending business models isn't just a buzzword. We're talking about core software as a service or SaaS industries. Think about customer relationship management, data analytics, or workflow automation. For example, Salesforce has already started replacing thousands of customer support jobs with AI. As we noted a while back, Chinese models are running at roughly 1/6 to 1/4 the cost of comparable American systems. That cost advantage is exactly what makes large-scale agent deployment economically viable. The threat is that these new AI agents won't just help you use your software, they might replace the software entirely by performing those tasks for you directly. That's a disruption everyone is terrified of. This isn't just a local fight, it's a global power struggle. The moves in China are a direct response to American AI companies like Anthropic and OpenAI accelerating their own agent development. The gap is closing fast. The head of Google DeepMind recently stated that Chinese AI models were just months behind their Western rivals. What's fascinating is how that gap is closing. It's not just about building bigger models. In fact, Alibaba's new model has fewer parameters than its predecessor, yet it performs better. That's a major shift because the trend has always been bigger is better. They're achieving this through clever architectural tricks like mixture of experts. which is like having a team of specialized AIs inside one model where only the relevant expert is activated for a specific task. As we've discussed before, this efficiency-first approach, distillation and selective activation, lets them squeeze more capability from leaner systems. However, we do need to take some of these performance claims with a grain of salt. Many of these benchmarks are self-reported. Independent analysis from groups like the US National Institute of Science and Technology has sometimes shown that top American models still maintain a significant performance lead in key areas when tested by a third party. To that point, Alibaba is signaling massive global ambitions. While its last model supported 82 languages, the new Qwen 3.5 supports 201. And that number, 201, represents a deliberate geopolitical strategy. By including languages from underserved regions in Africa, Southeast Asia, and Central Asia, Alibaba isn't just expanding its user base, it's aiming to become the foundational AI for entire continents that have been largely overlooked by Silicon Valley. It's a play for digital influence on a global scale. The message from the market is clear. The focus has shifted from simply building smart chatbots to creating autonomous agents that can act on a user's behalf. Today's twist is that these are increasingly multimodal, and given China's cost edge and platform reach, capable of rapid real-world deployment. As the world's tech giants pour resources into this new frontier, the one certainty is that the consequences for any company that falls behind will be severe. And this global competition isn't just happening in software. A fierce rivalry for the physical backbone of AI is heating up in the Middle East, where just 1 week after Saudi Arabia announced a massive new data project, its rival, the United Arab Emirates, has fired back with a major move of its own. An Iraqi-Emirati Consortium just unveiled plans for a $700 million data cable project branded WorldLink. The goal is to build a super-fast subsea and terrestrial data highway connecting the UAE to Turkey, running directly through Iraq. This is where the situation takes a more complex turn. For decades, the vast majority of data traffic between Asia and Europe has travelled through a handful of subsea cables, all squeezed into the narrow bottleneck of the Red Sea and the Suez Canal. But this route is incredibly fragile. We've seen recent incidents where cables were severed, knocking out huge percentages of global internet traffic and causing massive slowdowns. These new terrestrial routes are so attractive because they offer a completely different path, promising not just more resilience, but potentially even faster speeds. This announcement comes just days after Saudi Arabia revealed its own $1 billion project, dubbed SilkLink, which is set to run through Syria. This situation presents a fascinating duality. On one side, we have two Gulf neighbours in a head-to-head race to become the dominant hub for AI infrastructure and data centres in the region, creating a new digital corridor between Asia and Europe. This isn't just about internet cables, you see, it's the physical foundation for a much bigger ambition. The UAE is building a massive AI campus called Stargate with partners like OpenAI and NVIDIA, aiming for a gigawatt of data center power. At the same time, Saudi Arabia has its own project, Humane, which is even bigger, aiming for nearly 2 gigawatts of power and planning to import over $1 billion worth of NVIDIA's best chips. They are both racing to become the regional landlord for the artificial intelligence boom. The competition is barely hidden. When asked about the new UAE-backed project, the Syrian Telecoms Ministry stated that additional infrastructure investment improves route diversity and resilience for everyone, before immediately pivoting to say its own SilkLink project expects to be highly competitive on both performance and resilience. This isn't just about laying fibre optic cables. This is a high-stakes competition for geopolitical influence. One of the backers of the WorldLink project, Breeze Investments, declared that AI infrastructure readiness is a necessity, and that their network is designed to deliver the fastest and most reliable connectivity in the region. Iraq, for its part, is trying to market itself as a stable transit corridor after decades of conflict, launching its own $17 billion development road plan to connect the region to Turkey. However, routing the world's critical data through Iraq comes with enormous questions. The country is still grappling with political instability and ranks very low on global transparency indexes, raising concerns about corruption and reliability. We've seen major infrastructure projects there stall or fail in the past. So while the development road plan is ambitious, investors are watching very closely to see if the country can truly guarantee the security and stability needed for a project of this scale. But the central story is the escalating rivalry between the UAE and Saudi Arabia. They are pouring billions into neighbouring countries, turning the Middle East into a strategic battleground for digital dominance. The core of this rivalry comes down to two things: data, sovereignty, and speed. As AI becomes more integrated into every aspect of our lives, countries don't want their most sensitive government and commercial data processed in data centres in the US or Europe. They want it close to home, under their own jurisdiction, for both security and performance. Having that data travel thousands of miles creates delays or latency, which can be a killer for real-time AI applications. With two competing mega projects now on the table, a new tech race is heating up, and the winner will hold a critical key to the future of global data.
That's it for today on Voyage Daily Tech. Follow, share, and stay tuned for daily updates coming your way tomorrow.